So, Pokemon Legends Z8 is going to be out later this year, and well, to say that I'm hyped for it is it's an understatement. So, of course, for today's video, I of course wanted to talk about 10 characters that I want to see in Pokemon Legends Z8. So, of course, do keep in mind that there will be spoilers for the following Pokemon games: Pokemon Black and White 2, X and Y, and of course Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. So if you've not played these games yet, I kind of urge you to do so because they're generally really good games. So of course, at my number 10 pick, we of course have Wallace from Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, and of course Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. So Wallace is a gym leader in, Ruby and Sapphire and the remakes, and a champion in Emerald. Now he plays some importance in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, as he is a prominent character in the Delta episode, and it's in that post game that we kind of do get a neat reference to Kalos and AZ. So, considering that Wallace is well over evolution and kind of important in the Delta episode, it kind of feels that maybe he should be in Legends ZA. Of course, this is just wishful thinking like the other ones, but of course, we will see if he's even in the game. And, with all these characters, hopefully he is. Next up, we of course have Dialga. So, Dialga was, of course, the champion in X and Y, and did play a bit of a role in the game, too. We are introduced to her fairly early on in the game, along with Lysander. And Dialga didn't really feel like she had much to do in X and Y, so here's hoping that Legends ZA can kind of change that, especially since we know that God of War is in the game, who was his signature Pokemon, so here's hoping that they can do that. Next up is of course Caleb and Serena. So these two were of course the rivals in X and Y. Well, one of the rivals. And, again, I just feel like these games could bring them back in. Maybe we see what they've been up to since X and Y ended. Maybe one of them could be a gym leader. Maybe one of them could be a champion. Who knows? I just kind of hope that we see them again. Of course, next up is, of course, Elisa. Elisa is from Pokemon Black and White and Black and White 2 and is a gym leader. Now, this one might be an oddball, but bear with me for a moment. Well, Elisa is, a beautiful lady, and Paris is the city of beauty, and, Lumiere City, would be the city of beauty in the Kalos region. So it maybe makes sense that Elisa could be in a game, as she is a model in the Gen 5 games. So could make sense that maybe she's in this game and doing some modeling work. I don't know. Honestly, I just can't hope that we see her in another Pokemon game. Next up is, of course, Essentia and Looker. Now, these two were, of course, from the post-game of X and Y. So, of course, Looker did make his debut in Pokemon Platinum first, but he does return in quite a few other Pokemon games. And, Essentia, or Emma, was a character that we do meet in X and Y. She played a bit of a role in the post-game, and it would be nice to see what she's been up to since the game ended, especially since she was an interesting character, to say the least. Next up, we of course have Trevor and Tierno. So Trevor and Tierno were of course two of our rivals in X and Y. Trevor basically was always working on Pokedex, and Tierno was interested in Pokemon dancing. Unfortunately, they don't really have much of a role to play in these games, which is kind of sad, especially since X and Y could have brought back contests or plays, and Trevor could have introduced you to some new Pokedex entries, or read them verbatim, or kind of help you fill out your Pokedex. There's a lot of missed opportunities with that one, so hopefully they bring them back in this game and kind of give them a proper send-off that X and Y didn't give. Next up is, of course, Professor Sycamore. We don't really know who the professor is going to be in this game. Could be a brand new person, could be Professor Sycamore, but either way, it would be nice to see him in the game again. He was a pretty cool professor and was a very interesting character in the story, especially with the anime, so it would be nice to see him again. And of course, next up, we of course have Team Flare admins. Not Lysandra or Surasek or Malva, because they kind of did play a bit of a role in the story, but the other unnamed admins. Yeah, Team Flare had a few admins, and I remember a few of the names, but not all of them. They did play a bit of a role in the story. You battled them once or twice, but they didn't really have their own characteristics, which is kind of sad because it felt like it kind of felt like they could have done a lot more in regards to Team Flare and their admins, but here's hoping that they actually do something more with them this time around, rather than just leave them on the floor. And of course, next up is of course Clement. Clement was a gym leader, and well, was a pretty interesting character in the anime. Most of my want for him to be in this game is of course from the anime. I thought he was pretty cool, and so it would be nice to see him again. You know, maybe as an Elite Four member if they are doing that. Maybe just as a supporting character. Either way, it would be nice to see him again. And of course, now I'll mention to AZ. I don't know if he's going to be in this game, but considering it's called ZA, there's a chance that maybe he is, but if we don't know yet, hopefully he is. And of course, my number one pick is of course Shauna. Shauna is another rival in the game, and frankly, I like her. She's probably one of the best rivals in the game, and very underrated. She's a really interesting character, and felt like she had a lot to do in the story, so it would be nice to see her again in Legends ZA. And, well, honestly, that's really all I have to say for today's video. So, of course, whether or not any of these characters appear is really up to chance. I'm not claiming I know everything or anything about this game, but here's hoping that at least a few of them do appear. But with that, I will of course be going, but of course this will not be my final Pokemon ZA video. I plan to do about 1 or 2 more. Then I also plan to do more content about this game when the game drops. So until then, thank you for watching, and have a wonderful night.